All right. Well, thank you so much, Antron Brown, for coming on the podcast today. I'm just going to let you kick it off if you don't mind, and just give a little background of yourself, just a little intro for the audience if you don't mind.
Well, I'm Antron Brown. I've been racing. I'm a professional NHRA drag racing racer, aka the Guru. I'm just joking. No, I've been drag racing now this is my 23rd season in NHRA drag racing. Started my career in '98, where I raced 10 years professionally on motorcycles, pro stock motorcycles. They're basically bikes that go from 0 to 60 in 1 second.
Nuts.
And we literally went almost 200 miles an hour. They have gone 200 miles an hour now, but when I was racing, we were like mid 190s, high 190s. And now I switched gears from a mirror class in NHRA drag racing to top fuel. I've been racing top fuel since 2008 to the present. So just born around the sport, just born around the sport, just love it. And once you get into it, it's just like one of those deals. Once you get in, you're hooked and it never stops. It's always evolving. And I just like to change. You always like working to be better. You're
Definitely.
not doing the status quo. You're just doing the same things over and over again.
Sure. No, that totally makes sense. The first question I have to ask you is just, obviously, for my audience, I think some of you probably know, my background and affiliation with my father in NHRA. And I personally, obviously have been to a lot of races and a lot of events. Antron, I had to ask you, like, what is it like going that fast? I don't think until people go, like, people see it online, but I've brought plenty of friends to a race. Until you see how fast you guys go in person, I don't think anyone fully comprehends it until it's, you see it in person. So what is that like, going 300 miles an hour plus in a car?
The hardest thing everybody wants to know is the exact question you asked, which is a great question. It's not the speed, okay? Is the way you get there. You know what I mean? And that's the best way to explain it. It's like, it's almost like being in a car. Like, once you're going, let's say you're in a car and you're cruising at 90 miles an hour. Well, you're doing 90, you can look around and everything, you're going down the road.
Sure,
you know what I mean? But if you got the 90 miles an hour, like a click of your finger, blink of your eye, you're like, whoa, that was stupid fast.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm here to tell you is that, to let people try to understand, is that in 500 feet, our car accelerates up to 6 Gs.
That's
and what
crazy.
I mean is like anything else you will ever drive or fly, anything on this planet, any kind of vehicle, you kind of take off, and and you take off. When you take off, that's when you get the most thrust, like a bam, right? Well, this here, we take off like that, but the G meter keeps going up, which it breaks all the laws of physics of what we do. Because normally you leave on something, you have the gas, wind up, you drop the clutch in a race car, motorcycle, whatever you race. It'll snap you back, and then once it snaps you back, once the first gear's over with and you shift, the G meter just constantly goes down.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. Our vehicle, when we launch, boom, the G meter will start up about like 3.6, 3.7 Gs. And then we give it more power and more clutch, and the G meter will go up from there to like 4.2 Gs.
Oh, wow.
And that's around the 150 foot mark. Then once we get to the 250 foot mark, we give it some more power and clutch, and the G meter goes up to 4.5 Gs. Then when we get to right at like 2.98 or 3 seconds flat, our clutch finally goes 1-to-1. It goes 1-to-1.
Okay.
At 500 feet and at 3 seconds flat. Okay. And when it does that, we pull the 6 Gs when our car is right at 300 miles an hour. So we pull more Gs at 300 miles an hour, like 295 to 300 miles an hour, than we did from 0 to 100 miles an hour.
So it gets worse and worse, or stronger and stronger, however you want to say it.
And then finally we go 1-to-1, like in the other vehicle, then the G meter starts decelling, coming down.
Okay. Got it.
That's our last half of the racetrack, our last third of the racetrack, I'll call it, because we only go 1,000 feet.
Right.
Yeah, but now
Right.
we don't go the full quarter mile. So in terms, it's like it literally hits you, you go, pulls you back more, and then once it goes locks up 1-to-1, boom, and you feel like this thing just kick you in the butt in the back, and the car just
Whoa.
floats because it wants to come off the ground, because the only thing that's
Right.
keeping it on the ground are the wings, the way they're positioned to give it downforce to hold it on the ground.
Whoa. That is wild. So when you hit the 1-to-1, I mean, at that point, are you just holding on for everything you're worth? Or is it like that point? Is it you used to it by now, but at first was that? I mean, what? I can't
Well,
imagine.
you know what the funny part is? The way these cars do what they do, Shane, is like it never stops. Like it doesn't get old. You
Okay.
get used to it because you know what to expect.
Sure.
But you sit out for a couple weeks, you gotta do it all over again and learn it all over again.
Oh, really? So
Oh yeah, yeah,
it's not
because
as simple as like riding a bike where you do it
it's
once and you kind of get the feel down.
the best way to explain it. It's like trauma. Like if you ever been in a car accident, this is
Okay.
controlled car accident trauma is what I call it.
Whoa, that's so
Like it
wild,
hits you
Antron.
so hard, but yet it happens so fast
Yeah.
that when it does it, it happens like it's happening fast, but your body
Sure.
goes in that shock where you can see everything in like slow motion. You're like, oh.
That's great. So once you're moving, like, can you do much? I mean, because you're full throttle, can you control the car much once you're
Oh,
going?
you're guiding it. You're
Okay.
like, I mean, if you ever saw in-car camera and you
Yeah.
can look up on YouTube and look at some of my runs that have an in-car camera, you'll see me turn the wheel back and forth like I'm turning on a racetrack.
Oh, so
And
really you're driving it
oh
that much.
yeah, you're doing everything to keep it straight. What you got to remember is you got 11,000
Whoa.
horsepower,
That's
and
so
those
crazy.
tires, one's always going to get more traction than the other. You follow what I mean?
Right. Oh, and you
And,
see
and,
that
it,
when they slow it
and
down.
yeah, and what you get, the car will twitch, and you're just nudging it along to keep it in the groove because it's doing everything but try to go straight.
Right. Oh, got it. Okay. I always just wondered if you guys are, at some level, you're just like eyes closed, like let it rip.
No, no,
No,
brother. Let me tell
definitely
you something.
not.
You're doing everything you can, and you're like, all right, where's that finish line? And you trying to guide that bad boy to the finish line, and then you're like, all right, it shoots,
Shoots and you're
and then
done.
the shoots come out. That's like your saving grace because it snags the car back so straight and hard.
Yeah.
Then you're like, all right, I'm good.
Okay. Do you get ripped forward then too when the parachute comes out?
Oh heck yeah, you do.
Man, that is a ride.
Heck yeah, you do. Oh yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So you gotta feel pretty beat up if you're into like the late weekend, or I would
It beats
assume.
you up. You can see me when I crack my neck and my back all the time because you go through adjustments. And a chiropractor is your best friend.
Oh, I bet.
And massage envy does you plenty of justice, trust me.
That is so funny. And I'm sure, I mean, that's got to go to show. I mean, you guys got to be very physically fit too. I mean, you can't just like hop into a car and
Oh,
not be physically
absolutely.
fit. There's no way.
Absolutely. I work out. I try to stay up on my regimen. You know what I
Okay.
mean? During
Yeah,
race
yeah.
season, it's hard to stay in regimen, but I at least will try to work out at least 3 times a week.
Okay.
During race season, off season, I'll do some twice a days, and
Oh,
I'll
wow.
work out for 4 or 5 days a week.
Okay. Got it. And what kind
And
of workouts do you do?
oh man, I do a lot of interval training. It's my
Yeah.
favorite interval circuit training. I'm not into the CrossFit stuff. That stuff beats you up pretty bad.
Yeah, I can.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, I really have a lot of respect for those guys and gals because they're monsters. But my circuit training is kind of like that. You know what I mean? Where
Oh,
I
definitely.
just
Yeah.
do I just do lighter weights
Right.
with a lot more repetition. You get
Got it.
what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Because I
yeah.
do more endurance training, I want to call it, and interval training where I keep the heart rate up a whole bunch
Right.
and I don't stop.
Yeah,
So
that
if
makes
I
sense.
work out for 45 minutes, I don't have too many breaks. It's like it'll be like 45 seconds on, like 15 seconds off, and that's a switch to a
Okay.
different exercise.
Got it. Yeah, you're
You
doing
know
some
what
like
I mean?
Tabata training type stuff.
Yeah, so you just
Yeah.
keep the heart rate, keep going. And that's the main thing for me is because I'm constantly on the go and I don't want to
Right.
build. Like I got muscles and I'm cut up, but I don't want to be bulky like a bodybuilder.
That'd probably be worse for you in the car, right? 'Cause it's
Well,
tight.
it's more weight.
Yeah, right.
Muscle weighs more than fat. Muscle weighs
Right.
more than anything. So
Sure.
I want us to be lean and cut, but I yet want to be flexible and limber.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. And because you guys are going like your times are so tight. I mean, I'm sure like if you gain 10, 15 pounds or something, that could be actually a big difference in the weight of the car.
Well, it is because in our sport, car and driver have to weigh a combined weight to a minimum. You can weigh more, but the more you weigh is a disadvantage.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
It's
it's kind
like
of
me
a
giving
dialed in
somebody
science.
it's like us racing a wheelbarrow. I
Yeah.
give you a wheelbarrow that's got 100 pounds in it, and I got a wheelbarrow that has 50 pounds in it. Who's going to have the advantage?
Yeah,
You know
exactly.
what
Yeah,
I
it
mean?
makes sense. No, it definitely makes sense. Yeah, for sure. Okay. No, that totally makes sense. That's awesome. Well, thank you, Antron. I mean, so that was my first question. I had to just get that out of the way because I've always wanted to ask a driver that, because that seems like the craziest part of your career is just trying to get behind a vehicle that can go 300 plus miles an hour. I was obviously doing some research on you, and in your childhood, the first thing that popped out to me was that you've been around racing for a really long time. It sounded like your grandfather was in racing, your dad was in the Sportsman series of NHRA, so it's been a part of your life for a really long time. And when I wanted to have you on the podcast, this athlete series, I've been trying to really dive into just how you became, a race car driver as a career, and like your thought process and just like the process in general of getting to that. And so my next question was going to be around, how early on, I know you were a fan of drag racing early on, but how early on did you really think becoming a professional NHRA or just race car driver in general was in your future?
I didn't. It was a dream, to be honest with you. It's like one of those deals where he's like, man, if I could just do this or if I could do that. And always wanted to be out there in NHRA on the pro level because I loved everything about the sport.
Yeah. Okay.
Just the openness, the the pits are wide open to all the fans. That's how I was able to see myself there one day. And also it's just you get to work on the technology of tomorrow. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? That's
Oh
what
yeah.
a lot of people don't understand is that you see all these new cars are out on the street today. Ford's got EcoBoost. Uh, Toyota, you know what I mean? They got turbos. You get what I mean? And then you
Yeah.
got all the manufacturers or like Chevy's got superchargers. You got all these manufacturers that got all these in like performance inhibitors because you can run them and it actually makes the car actually be more efficient, fuel
Uh-huh.
wise and everything. So the funniest part is people go, man, I just got a superset. Well, we've been running superchargers on nitro cars since the 70s and 60s.
Oh,
You get
gotcha.
what I
Yeah,
mean?
right, right,
You know
right. I
what I
mean,
mean?
sometimes
We've
they
been
start
running,
off with you guys.
yes, we've been running turbos on street bikes since like the early 90s.
Oh,
You get
wow.
what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You look at all the stuff, it's just like racing. Indy cars have been running turbos since the late 70s and 80s before they went to all
Oh, that's
aspirated.
cool.
So all the stuff that you see in today's world is from motorsports. And I think that's what really, really took my interest and made me dive into it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
I'm not the type of person who want to do the same thing over and over again. I like to work and make things better. And sometimes you always don't get better.
Sure.
You take a step back. You might take 5 steps back to take a half step forward.
Sure.
But
Yeah, that makes sense.
it's the learning curve that I think is that learning curve that intrigues me and that drives me because I'm always constantly working to be better. And drag racing, since I was young, I saw my dad, uncle, and my grandpa what they did, and it was about putting the work in. Even our family business, we had our own excavating and septic tank business. We installed them, excavated stuff, and then we serviced the septic tanks. We pumped them out and everything. That was our main line of work.
Wow.
And when I grew up, that was one thing that my grandpa instilled in all of us. He goes, "You can have anything you want in this world. All you gotta do is put that work in, son."
Yeah.
And uh, and I remember being around drag racing. My dad take me to the racetrack and go, "Dad, people get paid to do this?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, why can't I get paid?" And he goes, "Well, you can, son. This has always been a dream of me and your uncles." And I'm like, and that just stuck with me. I was like, well, how do you get there? Well, first I learned how to put myself out and around it.
Okay.
And once you put yourself out and around it, you'll get opportunity. But then it comes the hard part. You got to be prepared to take that opportunity.
Ah, that's a key part that we don't talk about enough,
Yeah.
probably. Got it. Okay.
Yes.
So because your dad and uncle were racing in the sportsman division, right?
Yeah, they just did the normal bracket racing stuff,
Okay.
super gas, super comp, and then like just bracket racing where you could just dial what you want to dial, which they call sportsman racing. And they were doing that before I was even born. You know what I
Okay.
mean? So
And for people
I
that
grew up.
don't know a lot about that, can you give what is that? Is that like entry level into drag
Well,
racing?
it's not. I wouldn't even call it entry level, but it's the way you can enter drag racing because there's a lot of people that make a living from sportsman racing.
Oh, okay.
They got like $1 million win races in
Oh,
sportsman
really?
racing.
Oh, I didn't
Oh
know that.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh
wow.
yeah, they got the big million. I mean, trust me, people make a living off of bracket racing. And what it is, this is the best way to explain to people. It's not heads up racing. It's not the type of racing where the first one to the finish line always doesn't win. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So what it is you get to like let's just say me and you were in a foot race. Let's put it in normal terms that people can understand. Everybody can understand. And I say, I can run 100 yards or 100 meters in 10 seconds flat. And say, you ran 100 meters in 9 seconds flat.
Okay.
Okay. So what will happen is in bracket racing, the way we do a race is, well, I'll dial in at 10 seconds. You dial in at 9 seconds. So what they'll give me a 1 second head start.
Oh, got it.
Okay. So I'll get a 1 second head start, take off. And then when your light comes on, you take off. And the only way you can beat me is by the way for you have to run dead on without going under 9 seconds. Like you can
Oh,
go slower, but you can't go under. If you go under 9, like if you ran an 8.99, I win because you ran faster than your dial in.
whoa.
Okay.
Okay.
And then for me, I got to run 10 seconds. If I run 9.99, I lose because I ran under. So the trick
Got
is,
it.
and the only way we beat each other is how close you run to your dial and how quick you react off the tree coming down
Got
without a
it.
false start.
Oh, wow. That's actually
Okay.
pretty complicated.
You get what I mean? Because what
Yeah.
happens is you can have a false start. What about if you just take off? If you take off before the tree's activated, it's a false start, like you took off before the gun went off.
Yeah. Right. 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 Right.
Okay. So the gun goes off, I take off. Then your gun goes off, then you take off. Well, my reaction time will be posted up on the board. I reacted within 50 thousandths of a second, like 500. I reacted like a 500 to the light going off. And then say you reacted 200ths of the light going off. So you reacted better than I did.
Okay.
You would beat me to the finish line if you ran on the dial, I ran on my dial, and you would beat me because your reaction time.
Right.
So,
Okay. So it's like two
so
parts.
exactly, it's 2 parts. You can't break out your dial, and you want to be quicker off reaction time without false starting. And
Right.
that's how you win a bracket race or a sportsman race.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that was
So
that
it's,
like your first and was that the first kind of like taste you got for all of this then?
oh,
Watching some of that?
absolutely. I watched my dad and uncle, and that's just a way to keep parity.
Yeah.
Where you can come out and drag race and bracket race a station wagon, and that costs you $500, and I could drag race my $100,000 dragster. You
Got it.
get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It don't make a difference. It's like you got to dial in and race, and you can race for big money, but then everybody can race each other.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
You could
That
have
makes sense.
1,000 cars race, like in the million, they have 1,000 cars racing for $1 million.
Oh, wow. Cool. And that means all stretches of life, different levels
Yes.
of people can come in.
Don't make a difference. The most consistent package and the quickest lever on a tree is what wins.
Love it. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I didn't realize that's how that worked. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. So you got a taste of that early on, and then you actually started drag racing pretty early on yourself, right? When did you start? How old were you?
Well, I started drag racing. I didn't start drag racing, honestly. Like I drag raced when I was probably about 17 years old, 18
Yeah.
when I got
Okay.
my driver's license down a drag strip on motorcycles,
Yeah. Motorcycles first, right?
not on cars. I didn't never drag race cars at
Yeah.
all. That's the funny part. And my dad and uncle dad never drove one of their race cars to this day. Not one time.
Really? Oh,
No,
that's
not at
funny.
all. And then what happened was before that, when I was 4 years old, I started racing motorcycles, and I was racing motocross
Right.
since I was like
Motocross.
like racing the hardcore since I was 12, but racing here and there when I was younger, you know?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you were doing more like motocross courses and that type of racing when you were a kid?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
got it. Okay. So you kind of had
Yeah.
you had a more of a fascination early on too with motorcycles then.
Yes, I did.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
I
Yeah. And
always did.
then
Well, they didn't have junior dragsters when I was a kid. Like my kids raced junior dragsters.
right.
That didn't come out until I was like 20 years old.
Oh, got it. Okay. Okay. So that's newer too. I didn't realize that as
Yes.
well. Okay. So you're doing motorcycle racing, like motocross racing. And then I know you ended up going to get your associate's degree and you ran track and field, right? So you actually like left high school, graduated, go to college.
Yes.
And then at that point you have a chance to go full ride to university, if I'm correct, from reading your bio.
Yeah, I could have went to a lot of different colleges to run track because I was a decent athlete in high school. I
Okay.
played I ran track, played basketball, played football, and I also played soccer when I was a freshman and sophomore. When I was a sophomore, I actually played on the varsity team in soccer.
Oh, wow.
Freshman, I
Okay.
played on freshman I played on JV and sat the bench for varsity, and I played varsity my sophomore year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I loved it. You know what I mean? I was that's what I always loved to do, and how I played, and I was fast. I was fast at running. That's where
Okay.
it boils down to. So I
You've
went to
always been
college.
fast, Antron.
Well, this is what I always enjoyed to do, and I didn't have plans going to college at first. Like I was like, I wanted to really figure out what I wanted to do, and
Okay.
I wanted to be into racing.
Got it.
So I
So
was
you had
racing
to,
motocross at a serious level, and I got hurt real bad, and that's what made me decide to go to college.
oh, okay. So you had like an accident in a race or what
Yeah, I
happened?
had an accident actually testing and practicing to go to the one of the already finished and placed in the district qualifier, but go to the regional qualifier to go to Loretta Lynn's.
Oh, wow. And just you got a bad accident?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
and messed my shoulder up pretty bad, and then that's when I said, you know what? My mom says you need to think about doing like going to college or decide what you want to do. She said because she goes like, unless you want to work at the family business your whole life. I'm like,
You're
nah,
like,
that's
no,
not
not for
me.
you.
No, that's not me.
So
I
it
lived
seems
it
like
my
early
whole.
on you knew you wanted to do something athletic career wise though. It sounds like you didn't have a passion
Yeah.
to like go to college and get a degree in something behind a desk.
Well, I did always want to go to college and get a marketing and business degree. I always had that
Okay.
in my foresight to do that. And actually, I already had like I was certified to be an accountant. You know what
Oh,
I mean?
okay.
So
Yeah.
so I already took the test out of high school for that. You know what I mean?
Oh, did
Because
you really?
I had some college classes in high school that got me college credits, and I
Right.
actually took the test to be and I passed it to be a CPA accountant.
Oh, okay.
So I already had that coming out of high school. You know what I mean? I did
Oh,
that.
wow. So you could have gone down that route pretty easily if you wanted to.
Absolutely. But the thing about it is that I'm not a person that can sit at a desk and stand still all day long. And that's when
Got
I
it.
figured it out. You know what I mean? I was
Yeah.
always good in math, very good in math. Um, like I had up to calculus too. So like I could do all the different stuff. And I said, well, maybe I'll go into engineering.
Yeah.
No, not me. Like I like it, designing stuff, but
Right.
I'm more of a hands-on action person.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I like, you know what I mean? It's one of those deals where I can't sit still. I'm always constantly doing something.
Got it. Yeah,
So
you don't like to sit around at all. You're like on the move all the time.
oh, absolutely. And
Yeah.
and and that's what I decided to do. So I decided to go, all right, well, when I went to school, I went to a junior college, which is like a community college called Mercer in New Jersey.
Okay.
But
Yep.
they're a D1 junior college.
Got it.
So what they do is a lot of people will go to that college if they didn't have good grades or something like that, or whatever, or didn't take their SATs or ACTs, and they'll go to that college, go for 2 years, and it was a transfer school to all the big universities around New Jersey, Philadelphia, and New York.
Oh, got it. Okay.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because you go to
Yeah.
Syracuse, you go to Penn State, you can go to Temple, Villanova,
Yeah, there's a lot there.
Seton Hall. You could have went to University of Maryland. It was a direct relation to a lot of colleges like that.
Hmm.
And so we always had a lot of people that came from Jamaica or Trinidad will come to this school. And a lot of those guys played soccer, or girls played soccer at this college because they were a championship soccer team, and they had a championship track team.
Oh, wow.
And in basketball too. So I went there, so I'm on a track team. It'd be good for me to do something. And I didn't realize, I'm like, well, these cats probably can run, because you're going to have some people from Trinidad, Jamaica, and these cats coming here so they can get through, so they can go to the last 2 years in a 4-year, like in a big school.
Yeah, right, right.
University. But I went out there, and lo and behold, I end up getting a scholarship.
Wow.
And I ended up being the fastest kid on the track team, because I did finish like in the top 3 of my state 3 years in a row in the 100 meters. So it wasn't I was a slow kid.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was pretty
again
fast,
for sprinting. Not again. You said there's something with you and going fast in a short distance. I don't know what it is.
Short and quick, no long distance, brother. Ain't no cross country here.
You know what you're good at, man. You know what you're good at. That's great. So then
training, 45 seconds on, 15
right,
seconds
I was going to say, you're very consistent, Antron. You're very consistent. So you do that, and then you have the opportunity to go to a 4-year university. But then this is where you got your moment, right? This is what you're talking about at the beginning, kind of having the chance to hop on your dream. You have correct me if I'm wrong, but Troy Vincent, who was your cousin's husband, wanted to start a team, and you got the call to potentially be the driver.
Yes. Troy was a need for speed. That's when he played for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay, yes.
He started out in Miami, the college for Wisconsin. And honestly, it's so funny. He's actually the senior vice president of NFL right now under Roger Goodell.
Is he really?
Yeah, Troy is. Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah, I remember him in his Philly days for sure.
Yes,
I lived we lived in Philadelphia when he was on the Eagles.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
That was the Bobby Taylor, Troy Vincent cornerback attack days, baby. With Brian Dawkins as a free safety.
That's right. That's right. Yes, it was.
You know.
Oh, yeah, those were good years for them.
Donovan McNabb, they had it all, man. I think they should have finished it, but that's a whole other story. But the funniest part is that Troy had a need for speed, and he loved racing, and he had a street bike fetish craze. He loved street bikes. And so he started it, and he tells me, he goes, I'm thinking about doing this team, and Tommy told me about you, and I know you race motocross and all that stuff, and nobody knows who you are. I think you'd be perfect for it, and you're young, and you're moldable. He wanted somebody that was moldable, that he can actually develop into a true professional. And I was so blessed to have Troy there, because he was my mentor, and he's really, really got me right and actually let me forward. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
And I really appreciate everything he has done for me over the course of my career. And then when he owned the team, I raced one for 2 years. Then he was like, here, I got to focus on my career. This is yours. And this is how much you're going to pay me a month to own this team. And if you can't, I'm just going to sell everything. So it's like he threw me to the wolves. I was like,
wow.
Lord.
Oh, I didn't realize he got out that fast. It was 2 years.
Lord. Yeah, I'm like, Lord. I'm like, oh, here we go. But you know what? It made me grow up, and we made it happen. We made the ends meet. And I met a few different people, started talking, had some really good people that supported us. And here I am today from that, man. It's just like, sometimes you know, I had a great mentor, but it was time for me to make and pave my own way. And I thank Troy every day for that, because that's what turned me from a young man to a man.
Sure. Oh, that makes sense. When you got adversity at your back, right? Because you did that for 10 years, right? I know you bounced around. So how did that work when you did you become the owner of his?
Yeah, I became the owner of the team. Me and my crew chief, I made him a partner with me, Mark Pizer at the time. Me and him became partners. And then we worked at it, and we made it. We had some sponsorship money coming in from different entities, and we just kept on growing it and making it happen.
Wow, that's really cool. What was it like that early on in your career, going from collegiate athlete to professional racer, and then 2 years into that owning a team? Like, was that kind of the same thing as going down the track in 3 seconds? Was that like 0 to 100?
Let me tell you something. It was a rush. But the thing about it is, you're talking about getting backed in the corner, because I became the boss of people that were way older than me.
Yeah.
And then it was just more than that. I went from like just riding the bike and working on it to running all the financials, to writing all the checks out, paying all the bills, coming up with the budgets, the strategy,
wow.
how to go forward, how do we keep going, and then literally like able to budget and figure out what it takes to do it for a whole year. Because a lot of people
Wow.
realize all the small expenditures that they don't ever calculate in.
Oh, I'm
You know what I
sure.
mean? Like if the DOT to keep the truck on the road.
Yeah,
You know what I
sure.
mean? Paying like, when you pay an employee, you gotta play like, you got like, unemployment tax, and
Yep.
you gotta pay the wages tax. Even though they take taxes out of their paycheck, the employer's gotta pay tax too. You know what I mean? So it's all the little things that go in, man, and figure out how to make that work, and what bill to pay right now. Which one do we pay now? Which one can we pay a little later? It's like
Wow.
all that stuff
Yeah.
goes in hand to keep cash flow right. And that was a lot to take on. And then you have people come to work with bad attitudes because their wife kicked them out the house, or they're not getting along with their wife. They come to work with a bad attitude. And I'm 23 years old, don't even have a wife yet. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Right.
So it's like it was hard to like understand, like, all right, well, now you got to be a therapist and listen to what goes on, and, and,
Sure.
and be there to listen and give good advice and get the most out your employees. Is like you got to be understanding, but yet you got to make it a good work environment so they thrive, so you can get more work out of them, so you could be more efficient, and your business could be better.
Right.
So it all goes hand in hand, you know?
Oh yeah, that's wild. Was there any like major things you learned during that process that you'd share with anybody who's, doing something similar? I mean, there's got to be some major takeaways early on that you learned or you had the mistake of going through.
Well, what I'll always tell people, for one thing, is that, with more reward is always more risk
Uh-huh.
with more responsibility.
Okay.
And as long as they understand that going in, and they got to be prepared to sacrifice. That's it. I tell, like, sacrifice is key to anything, or being great, or being good, or succeeding, or being whatever your level of success is. Because
Sure.
successful is not being a millionaire. Success is not being wealthy or being like a Bill Gates. You know what I mean? Success is where you're happy at in life.
Yeah, I love that.
You get what I mean?
Yep.
That's success. Okay? Because I know a lot of people that got a lot of money that are very, very miserable.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Right. I'm sure.
You know what I
You
mean?
hear that a
But
lot.
you got to gauge what you want your success level to be. And once you do, then you got to go, all right, how do I get there? Okay? Well, it's a lot of sacrifice. Like for me, I didn't even own my own house or rent an apartment. And I was already making that sacrifice on that race team when we took it over, because the money it cost, where I lived at the shop.
Oh wow.
Or,
Did you really?
or stay with my girlfriend at the time, which was my wife.
Oh
She had
wow.
a studio apartment over top of her barn at her mom's house down in Louisiana. So I moved down there to stay there. You know what I mean?
Just trying to make ends meet. No, I get it. You're hustling.
But that's what you have to do. And thing about it is that, and it always didn't go right.
Okay.
Did I make wrong decisions and wrong choices? Yes, I did. And what it caused me to do, it caused me to research it more.
Ah, yeah.
And
Right.
what I started learning is not just to shoot from the hip. It's like, okay, let me pause. Let me research this a little bit more. Let me get more information on it. And then I can make a better in-depth decision instead of jumping on it and doing something 4 times instead of doing it the right way 1 time. That might cost me a little bit more money. I learned that real fast. Oh, this is cheaper. Let's just get that. Well, hold up, it's cheaper. But whoa, like that's bad. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
now I gotta buy it twice.
Right.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. For sure.
Now I gotta buy it twice.
Yeah. No,
I mean,
that's a big one, I'm sure, right? Just quality sometimes, even though if it might be the more expensive decision, I'm sure. Did
yes.
you so you take over the team, and then how many seasons did you and your partner run that team for? I guess it was 2 years in, and then how many years did you run it like that?
We ran a team like that for 2 years. I'll say 2 years like that.
Okay.
Afterwards, because then we landed with I brought a teammate on at the time named Angel, which is my wife's cousin.
Okay.
And we raced with each other. And then when we took it on, we literally got sponsorship with the U.S. Army. But the only way we could accept the sponsorship, it had to go through Don Schumacher Racing
Ah,
because
okay.
he had the exclusivity on the Army contract, even though the Army just wanted our bike team.
Got
So,
it. Oh, wow.
so with that being said, it was so he ended up owning the team, and then we raced for him, but we ran the team.
Oh, got it. Okay. So that's how you kind of got linked in with DSR
Yes.
then at that point.
Yes.
Okay. So and then you were very successful in the motorcycle side of drag racing. And then after 10 seasons, you decided to switch to Top Fuel. Can you kind of walk through what that process was like and why you decided to then go from the successful career on the motorcycle side to Top Fuel?
Well, this is one thing. Like when I first became the professional racer in Pro Stock Bike, I was already happy where I was like, I made it.
Yeah.
I made it. But when I talked to you, the key term was the U.S. Army.
Okay.
And when I was with the U.S. Army on that Pro Stock motorcycle team, I was on with the U.S. Army for 6 years. Okay. So 6 years racing with the U.S. Army, I went through basic training, and it changed my whole mind process.
You went through actual Army basic training?
Yes.
Did you really?
Yes, I did.
Like
Yes,
you
I
chose
did.
to do that, or that was something they wanted you
Well,
to
there
do?
was a deal that they put us in there. We weren't in there for the full
Whoa.
9 weeks.
Yeah.
But we were in there for I was there for about 7 days, and they put us with a different group of people. Our first 2 days
Wow.
at the 7-0, this was a kicker. We get off the bus with fresh recruits, and they didn't know that we were guests visiting. So we got the full-blown basic training off the bus the first 2 days of basic
Wow.
training.
What
Like
was
we were
that
really,
like?
brother, it was eye-opening experience, Shane. It was, I loved it because it was challenging.
Yeah.
And I was in shape. I was fresh out of college, not fresh out of college, but I was still in really, really good shape.
Sure.
And for me, that was like right up my alley. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
waking up in the morning, 2-mile run, I could jog 2 miles. That ain't no problem. You know,
Yeah.
walk 5 miles. I could walk 10. I could walk 20. See that? You know what I mean? Backpacks. You know what
Let's
I
do
mean?
it. Yeah.
Push-ups. Shoot, I can do hundreds of push-ups. That ain't no biggie.
Yeah.
So I was good. And then, but the funniest part of it is that what it taught me is that I saw people that came in that had no confidence in themselves.
Ah,
And there were
yes.
people that would settle in life. And these guys and girls were there running like a chicken with their head cut off. And then didn't know how to lean on one another, didn't believe in themselves, and they wanted to quit.
Really?
And they're like, I'm not, and the guy goes, I ain't gonna make it through this, man. He goes, I can't do push-ups for 2 minutes straight. I ain't gonna make that. I can't even make 2 miles. Like you hear people talking.
Okay.
They're already talking themselves out of like how they need to get through because they need this for a job. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And then I went with a group of people that were there for 3 weeks. You start hearing them helping themselves. Where they're like, man, you got this. You got this. Hey, girl, you're going to get through this. You got this. Blah, 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 blah. And then they're pushing each other. And the drill sergeant wasn't motivating no more like they do the first 2 weeks.
Okay.
The third week, they're telling them that you ain't going to make it.
Right.
You ain't worth you know what. You ain't going to make anything. And the drill sergeant is telling them this stuff. And they're like this, yes, we are. Yes, we will, drill sergeant. You ain't going to make it. Yes, we will, drill sergeant, sir. And like the year I'm talking like that.
It just changes. Yeah.
And their whole mindset changed. And then what I learned from it, the whole thing was, the moral of this story is that I learned that a lot of people settle in life. And what the basic training did, it taught them not to settle, for them to rise above and become the best version of themselves that they can be.
Oh, I love that.
And that's not letting resistance slow them down. It's about, you're going to get resistance, but the way you beat it is through persistence.
Got it.
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I took from it. And then I had a deep look at myself. I'm like, I'm happy that I'm here. But I go, my dream was always to race a fuel car. Because I never even thought that I could even make it there because I don't come. My last name wasn't Bernstein. My last name wasn't Force.
Yeah.
My family doesn't come from a nitro heritage. My last name wasn't Schumacher. You know what I mean? My family didn't have money to make me here, to get me there.
Right.
So I'm like, how do I get there? So now I say, you know what? Put yourself around it. get the opportunity, and be ready to jump on it and prepare myself. And I started letting people know, start telling people. It took me 5 years from then to actually get a chance to drive one, but I stayed after it and I never stopped.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
now,
So you
and
just kind
now
of you just got that you it was kind of a click moment in your head where you were like, I got to start
yes,
talking about it, I got to start pushing for it, and then you just were
yes,
persistent.
that basic training changed my
Oh,
whole
that's
thought
wild.
process.
That's really cool. I didn't even know you could do that. That's really cool. So that
Yes,
just changed your whole thing. So then you're pushing to be a top fuel dragster racer.
yes,
And you're already in the Schumacher organization at this point, right? So
yes.
were you just kind of bugging Don Schumacher a lot, always wanting a chance to drive, or how did that part work? How'd you finally
I
get a
did,
shot?
but I was all the time, and I was talking to all the crew chiefs. By the time, Don didn't have no open seats and was nobody retiring
Okay,
anytime soon.
sure.
Okay, so David Powers actually had a seat open, and he actually reached out to me prior to that year about just saying, you really want to race a top fuel car through Lee Beard, who was a crew chief that used to work at DSR. And
Okay.
Lee was my in. He was the general manager of David Powers Racing. And I said, Lee, this is what I want to do. He goes, Tron, you really want to do that? I go, yes, that's where I want to be. And that's what I want to do. He goes, okay, all right. He goes, I think you'll be great at this. And Lee had a knack of finding talent,
Okay.
a really good knack. And he got me in that car, man. And we split off when we won 2 races that year and everything else. And it was just amazing. It was amazing. And the rest was history, man. And I got in
So
there
cool,
and
Antron.
and I never thought that I'd be able to make it happen. And David Powers gave me that chance. And Mac O'Toole's are my current spots that I've been with for the full 13 years of me racing top
Wow.
fuel.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, you guys were so successful too. Like even I was looking through the seasons and jumping in. I mean, you kind of hit the ground running. It was almost like it was meant to be. You just started winning races, you were winning events, won 3 world championships, and then in 2015 I also saw you were the first person to break the 3.7-second run record. So I mean, you were
Yes,
just on fire, it sounds like.
man. Well, it's credit to the team that I had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had the best team in the business to this day with Brian Karate, Mark Oswald, Brad Mason, and all of our Matco boys, all the crew guys, and they all know who they are. And we have a phenomenal team, and we have that team back intact right now. We actually just all
Oh yeah, that's what I
reunited,
read.
and
That's exciting. Are you pumped for that?
and I'm very excited. It's just time now. We just got to put the work in
Yeah.
and get the clicking and get back our synergy back. And we're going to be off and running again. And it's just only a matter of time. And everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it. But I'm looking forward to it. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
when you communicate with people without even talking, just by the way you look and your expressions, that's when you got something special.
Oh, I
And
bet, man.
that's the type of team that we have.
That's so exciting. Yeah, I mean, to be on brand with what you've been saying this whole time we've been talking, not settling for where you're at. The next thing, obviously, that you have tons of accolades and you've had tons of success. But then some of the more recent news that I wanted to jump into next with the amount of time we got left is now your next stage. And I'm assuming you weren't going to just sit and just race top fuel dragsters for the rest of your career. So now you're actually starting your own team, which is crazy exciting. And would you mind talking a little bit about that and how was that always something in the back of your head you wanted to do? Or is that just like the next thing that's been unlocked in your head is like getting above and better and better?
That's what I always wanted from day one. When I ran my own pro motorcycle team, because the unique thing of it is that I'm not going to be able to sit behind a driver wheel my whole life.
Right.
Ain't going to happen. You know what I mean? So, and excuse me there. And I have the knack I want to be the one that goes out there and pick the drivers of tomorrow.
Love that. That's cool.
Find the person who has that eye, the tiger in their eye, is willing to put the extra effort in, who's willing not to settle, who constantly wants to work. And there's lots of them out there that don't get that opportunity. And for me, I had to fight and claw and be at the right spot at the right time, where I want to make it where I want to grow our sport. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, the John Force, the Connie Coletta, the Don Schumacher, they're getting up there in age. They're not going to be around forever.
Right. Yeah. It's a good point.
You know, so who's the next in line? Who else is going to carry the torch? If something happens to this, does everything just fall apart? You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's one thing that's a negative of the monster teams. When you have a lot of team owners, when they get older and they got these monster teams, how do they keep going on after something happens to them?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Oh yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
So for me in general, and besides the point, I'm just at the point in my life and in my career where I want to start making decisions. I think the next challenge for me is how you manage the people.
Yeah.
How do you build the team? How do you build the infrastructure? How do you spread it out? Or, you know what I mean? Everybody wants to run their business a different way. And do I ever want to be as big as a Don Schumacher Racing? Probably not. No. You know what I mean? I couldn't see having 8 race teams or 6 race teams. Me, I mean, if I had 2 race teams, that'd be awesome. Because I keep everything. I'm more of a personable
you're
guy.
saying that until you get 2, and then you're gonna be like, I gotta go bigger.
Well, if you get 4, I mean, honestly, if I have 4, will be the biggest I ever want to be.
Okay.
Like 2 in each class, like 2 funny cars, or like 2 dragsters.
Yeah.
And maybe like 2 pro stock motorcycles. I like to have a motorcycle team too.
Yeah, that'd be cool, right?
I'd like to manage one of those. That'd be awesome to do.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. So you have a lot of room ahead. That's exciting. And so is that transition from basically a subsidiary of DSR to AB Motorsports, excuse me? Is that over a couple of years, or what's that transition time look like?
Well, the thing about it is my transition was going to be a lot faster until COVID-19 happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So COVID-19 hit, it definitely changed a lot of things. You know what I mean? So right now, we'll get through the inner part of this year. I really was shooting for 2021 was going to be like the start where I just break off. But I'm hoping we'll see what the future holds, and we see what this all season does and what our next race season does next year.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it's true. There's a lot of uncertainty right now. I know you guys are trying to finish the season and get through it, so I'm sure that's the main focus right now.
It is, but I still have my dream back there.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm halfway there now, so it's definitely going to be a transition. You know what I mean? But
for sure,
that's definitely where I want to be at.
No, that's awesome, Antron. One of my last career type questions was, I know this is the next big thing for you is starting your own team. Are there any other business endeavors that you're trying to add to kind of your cap as far as, career and wealth creation? Like, are you into investing, or do you have any other side businesses? I was just curious if there's anything else in your.
I have a person that invests and does some other stuff like financial stuff and stuff like that. But I always myself wanted to play in the stock market. You know
really?
I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I always wanted to look in there and some different investments to go into, what I call play money.
Yeah.
You know what
exactly.
I mean? So to learn it where it doesn't hurt my feelings if it goes down, because I got time to let it come back up.
Exactly.
Because I know how the market works. It's like a wave, goes up, comes down.
But it always usually comes back up. Yep.
It's gonna come back up. You know what I mean? Unless you hit a rock.
Yeah.
If you hit a rock, it might tear you up, but you gotta be careful. But you deal with some normalcy stuff, and I watch it all the time. And I got an IRA, and then I got a play around IRA fund where I'll move some money around here or there.
Oh,
and then I also have a deal where I'm actually in a Russell fund.
Oh, very cool.
You know what I mean? So
so
my guy put me in a Russell fund, which was one of the best things, because like this year is not a year to look at, but the last 2 years, man, my Russell fund, like the money he's put in my Russell fund, the way he moved it all around and got it together, where what I like nice about the Russell fund, when he explained to me, is that it's a big umbrella, but you could trade inside of it and change things around without fees.
Oh, nice. There you go.
But you have to have a chunk of money in there to get into that fund.
Right.
It's not like one of those funds you get in it with $5,000 or $10,000. You got to put some change
paper behind it. Yeah.
you got to put a little ching behind it. But it pays well, because I was like semi-aggressive.
Okay.
And those last 2 years, like the year before, I made like almost like 17% return
Oh,
on my
wow. That's
money.
fantastic, especially in previous
Yes,
years. Oh, yeah.
yes. I ain't talking about 20.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
talking about in 2019 and 18. They were like good years until
Yeah.
this whole epidemic hit. You know
Well,
what I
that's
mean?
awesome. So you do do some investing and you're diversified in that way. That's fantastic. That's
Yeah.
cool. So that's something you keep an eye on. That's something you is that something that you pay attention to daily?
I don't pay attention to it daily. Like I'll get a phone call from my broker every
Okay.
once in a while. And then another thing, and also I have universal life policies too, life insurance
Oh, okay.
policies on everybody in my family too.
Got it.
So
There you go.
they make money, and
Yeah.
then they actually like my wife's has been paid off for a while, where it
Oh,
just
very
keeps
cool.
on making money. Well, we can retire off of that too a little bit too. Use that for
Yeah.
retirement money
Right. Oh, that's
because
awesome.
as you get older, you ain't gonna need it. You know
Yeah,
what I
right.
mean?
That's the hope, right?
You
Exactly.
know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
So
more
that
of an
was the cool
insurance
part.
plan.
And I started all the ones for my kids when they were born.
Oh, cool.
So the cool part is they got like $250,000 life insurance policies, but now they've made enough money where they're worth way more than that now. You know
Right.
what I
Oh,
mean?
that's awesome. Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah. I mean, I
mean?
feel like those
So
are key when you have kids. That's like a big one to start off
yeah.
right away.
But if you start that off in a universal policy, now my daughter is 18 now,
Yeah.
so we're able to turn hers over to her now.
Oh, cool. I'm sure
You
that
get
was
what I mean?
exciting.
Because her policy's paid off, so she can actually take it, and when she has a family, she could transfer that to her kids.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So
Oh, that's exciting. So you guys have done well. That's fantastic. And you got a good diversification of your wealth, which is exciting. That's cool
you
to
know,
have.
we can always use more.
I know, right? You know, and see, that's that mindset too. That's great. You know, you always got to keep pushing and getting more. I totally agree. Um, the last few questions I had for you, Antron, are really questions that I love to ask, you know, everyone I have on here, especially for athletes and entrepreneurs like yourself. Do you have at least, you know, either a book, podcast, or source of knowledge that you like to tell people about or share or gift that you would like recommend?
Man, I read a lot on my iPad a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But the main thing that like the book that I like to share with everybody and and think about it is dear to me because it has life lessons. It's like at the end of the day, I read the Bible a lot. And
Love
I
it.
read it over and over and over and just act like like different chapters, different verses,
Okay.
and different. And I go through different books and different stuff like that. And Revelations is one of my favorite ones. And I'll go through Psalms, teach you different ways to live. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So the coolest part is that what the Bible does for me is that I'm constantly growing and learning. But it's
Okay.
so bizarre in my mind how you can read the old stories in the Old Testament of the Bible, and it's so relevant to today.
Oh, got it. Okay.
To today,
Yeah.
you'll read things like you'll think about something that's going on in your life right now,
Yeah.
and you'll read a story from the book in the Old Testament, the Bible, and somebody went through it 2,000 years ago.
Doesn't change, right? Yeah. It's like
Don't
that's wild.
change.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But you can learn from their mistakes so you don't make the same mistakes. And
That's a
that's what
great
history's all
takeaway.
about.
Yeah.
That's what
Right.
history's all
Exactly.
about. It's like learning. If you can learn from somebody else's mistake so you don't create the same mistake,
Hell yeah.
it puts you that much more farther forward.
100%.
But,
That makes so much sense. Do you have a certain like version of the Bible you recommend?
man, man, whatever version that's easy for you to understand. You
Love
know
it.
what I
There we
mean?
go. Yep.
Like, cause for me, I just use the King James all the time, but it speaks in that thou language. You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but I mean, NIV's fine. NIV's easy, simple, laid in. You know what I mean? It's like or the standard American. I mean, they all say the same thing but different ways.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I always encourage people all the time is to read the Bible and build that relationship on your own. Don't
Okay.
never just take somebody's word for something. It's like
Right.
I can read the instructions on how to put something together and tell you how to put it together, but it might be the wrong way still because it's interpreted the wrong way.
Yeah.
Well, if you
Right.
read it yourself and look at it, understand it, it's a different way.
It gives you a little more chance to kind of like read it the way you want to think about it.
Exactly, because just like in everything in this world could be twisted to anything that people want to make it into.
Right. That's so
You
true.
know what I
That's so
mean?
true. Okay. Yeah. No, I love that. That's great. That's great. Um, my second to last question is, so for you, you have a lot going on. Obviously, you're a competitive race car driver. You're about to own your own team. You have a family, you have a lot of moving pieces. Do you have any tips, tricks, and really like, do you have any tools? Is it apps? Is it paper and pen? How do you keep track of all of this stuff going on, goals, tasks, and how do you prioritize and keep track of what you got to get done every day?
Oh man, I tell you, it never stops. Okay, so I mean, I think the best thing for me, the way I do, is that of course my iPhone is Siri is my personal secretary.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
a lot of things go in the calendar, a lot of reminders pop up, uh, notes. I always write notes down, things to do, and because pen and paper, nobody keeps in their pocket no more. They got their phone.
Yeah.
So my notepad is instrumental because then I can tag it and actually put it on the calendar. I can
Uh-huh.
do different things with it. And the coolest part of it is I'm a person that's constantly thinking and I don't remember things well and I forget because there's so many things going on.
Okay.
When I put it in that note, I can flip it up and it clears my mind. And when my mind's clear, my thoughts are clear. I'm more
Uh-huh.
efficient and my process is clear. And when you write stuff down and you make yourself organized, man, when you start checking that stuff off the list, it's just that feeling that I have where it just makes me feel at ease
Oh
because
yeah,
I'm
I
not
agree.
I'm not clogging this up.
Yeah. It's like constantly
And
trying to get it all out of your head onto something,
yes,
right?
and then when people like talk to me, I can hear them better. I can
Sure.
observe better.
Right.
And a lot of people don't understand what that's all about. A lot of people don't understand why they're always stressed out. They're stressed because their hard drives overloaded up in their head and
That
they
is so
gotta let it
true.
out. You gotta let
Yeah.
it out. And notes, this right here,
That's the magic.
all day long. That's the magic. You just go, boom. Like I'll show you close. You see
Oh,
all
there
the
we go.
dots
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that? You
yeah.
see all those dots on that calendar?
You all got that stuff going on.
Look at that. That's all stuff going on.
Okay.
And then
Love it.
it goes boom, boom, bang. And then look, and then notes. You see it?
Oh
Things to
yeah.
do.
Things to do. First thing. Love it.
Things to do. Because that's the one that constantly changes.
Yeah, right. It's always changing. And so do you then use that to like, do you have like, are you someone who does like yearly goals or just like, are you kind of just always having one big goal you're chasing and it's changing all the time?
You know what? I'll be lying to you if I just always said I have one big goal. The goal evolves every day. It changes
Okay.
every day. It
Love it.
evolves and changes with life.
Yeah.
And for me, is like my goal is to be better each and every day. To be
Okay.
better. To
Love
be
that.
better. To grow. To be better. And what are you doing to be great today? Is when I wake up in the morning, I go, what am I going to do to be great today?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's cool.
Like, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like because everybody, if not, everybody goes through this rut in life where they go through that motion. They go through
Hmm.
the motions. They
Right.
go through that deal where they go, oh, I'm going to work today. Oh, I'm going to pick the kids up from school. Oh, I'm going to cook dinner. It's like, that's a life without feeling.
Oh, yeah.
It's going through the motions. Like, what are we going to do? And how are you going to be great today? The question is.
Love that, Antron. That's
You know,
powerful.
where are you going to do to be different
To
today
be
than you
different.
were yesterday? Yesterday's yesterday. Today's a new day.
Love that. That's good.
You know, and it's
Yeah.
opportunity. It's right in front of you. Opportunities in front of you every day. How you gonna go get it?
That's a powerful message. I love that. That's
You know,
fantastic. Yeah, yeah, no, I totally agree. I totally agree. You're waking up with fire too, it sounds like, which that's what a lot of people are trying to find. You got to find that passion.
you gotta find something that's gonna get you out of bed.
Yeah, right. That's true.
Right? Right?
Especially as we start to get colder and the fall is slowly and surely approaching us, right? Yep.
Yes.
I totally agree, my friend. I totally agree. Well, that is awesome. So that was my last question. I can't thank you enough, Antron, for giving me the time. I know this is a busy week, and the U.S. Nationals kicks off this weekend in Indianapolis. So I'll be rooting you on. I'm pumped for you and the team. I'm hoping you guys get the W this week.
All right.
And yeah, man, I can't thank you enough. Is there what's the best way for people to learn more about you, learn more about your team and what you're doing?
Man, they can follow, just go on Instagram, Antron Brown TF, Antron Brown on Twitter. You can look at my, you can go to my website, www.antronbrown.com or www.abmotorsports.com. I mean, it's all there, man. I mean, and you can follow me day to day, and I'm always giving some words of wisdom and dropping some stuff off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
You know? Hey, I already even got the name for you. I even got the name for your show now, man.
You do? What should it be?
Well, you got Shane White, right? Shane White. What's your initials?
SW.
SW. You know what that means? Sure win, baby. Sure win.
I love it. I love it. There we go. That should be the new name. I like that better. I like it better.
Tune in. The sure win with Shane White.
That does have a good ring to it, Antron. I will admit. That's solid.
Marketing, college talk.
I know. I'm gonna have to trademark that now. Now this is out on the internet. Everyone's gonna take it.
That's right.
I gotta take it, man. I gotta lock that down. I need T-shirts. I need to do some merch.
That's right. That's right, baby. That's right.
Awesome. Well, Antron, again, thank you so much, man. It was a pleasure talking to you. I thank you for taking the time today. I know you're a busy man, so I appreciate it. This is a lot of fun.
Anytime. Well, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely, Antron. And good luck this weekend. I know you're going to do well.
Thanks, Shane.
Awesome. Thanks, Antron.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.